Hello everyone, welcome to the Target CAT 2018 DILR 100 percentile session. So today I'll be just talking to you a bit about how you can ace what is probably the most difficult and the most important section of CAT in the last couple of years as well as should be in CAT 2018, which is the DILR section. So just to give you a background about me, I'm Nilanjan Datta. I'm a CAT 100 percentiler. And even in DLR section, I've been a CAT 100 percentile in that section as well, which is why I feel that I would want to share some of my tips and tricks on, how you can ace the DLR section and make it your forte instead of the most feared section in CAT. So, coming to what exactly is required in the DLR section, given that it's such a tough paper, given that scoring high is very difficult, and so on. So, in case you've done a little bit of research, a little bit of analysis of CAT 2016, CAT 2017 trends in DLR, you might have read across a lot of places that the DLR sets have been very challenging in nature and they've been very difficult to solve. And believe me, I will agree with that opinion that they are actually very difficult to solve. Even if you're exceptionally good in DILR, you might still have a major challenge solving more than 3 or 4 sets out of the given 8 sets in the paper. However, what has been observed is that in every set, there are around 1 or 2 doable questions which can be answered without completing the entire set. And in some sets, you might just get 2 or 3 questions which can be doable without completing the entire set. And that is where the entire trick lies. It's not about being able to solve all the 8 sets. It's about, in most of these sets, being able to take 7-8 minutes time to understand the questions, understand the options, and make the most use of the questions and options. Remember, in what is called a difficult or challenging set in DILR essentially means that the concepts in behind the set are difficult. And usually, to frame a very challenging DILR set, it takes almost 2 to 3 hours to create one such set that you see in CAT. However, once the set is done, they just take maybe 20 to 40 seconds per question to just frame the options. And that is why I always believe that the options is what you need to exploit. So for those of you who've been following me on Unacademy, where I'm a topmost educator for a CAT segment, so you might have seen that in my profile on unacademy.com/Nilanjan Datta, you might have just found out that I'm somebody who's always been about shortcuts, tricks, exploiting options, and getting the maximum returns for every question. And soon, as you know, in February first week, I'm launching my DLR live classes on Unacademy Plus, which you can access by going to plus.unacademy.com and you can enroll for the DLR Unacademy live classes. And wondering what those live classes will be all about? It will be essentially about the essential qualities that are required to crack the CAT DLR section, where I understand that even amongst the most challenging sets, how do you identify those sets where 2-3 questions are doable? How do you manage to mark at least 3 or 4 questions in a set which you cannot solve and get 2 or 3 correct? I'll give you a brief about myself. So in CAT 2016, in the most challenging slots, in the second slot, which was probably the most difficult DLR slot till date, I was able to solve only maybe 3 out of 8 sets completely. However, what I went on to do was I attempted all 32 questions across the paper, and all I did was I made use of the options and the questions against each set. So I went in with a simple approach. That is, that I understand the set is difficult. The questions and options is what will get me marks, and they aren't difficult in nature. So even before I was going into the set, I was first going to the questions and options just to get an idea about what exactly is the ultimate thing that I need to focus upon to get my marks. And that is something I recommend to all aspirants to do as well. Focus on the questions and options before you move on to the set and get this culture inculcated right from today itself. The next thing. Now, when you're looking to attempt all sets, you need to keep this thing in mind about the timer. So, for example, what I was doing was every 7 or 8 minutes, I was ensuring that I was moving on to the next set. And the reason I was doing that was to ensure that at the end of maybe the 7 or 8 minutes, or at the end of I'm solving one set, at the end of every 15 minutes, I'm able to solve two sets and so on. So that at the end of the 1 hour, I was able to solve all 8 sets, which is something which I feel is very, very important. So even if a lot of you are looking at not solving 8 sets, I would recommend you to look at least solving 6 sets out of 8 in a 1 hour time span. So how do you do that? One, you set timers for yourself. Every 10 minutes, you'll definitely move to the next set, which means at the end of the 8 minute mark in every set, you must be ready to take chance with the questions and options. When I'm saying take a chance with the questions and options, if you've gone through my DLR crash course and my DLR practice course on an academy, you would have realized that it's not about blind guessing. It's about making logical guesses, because if you look at CAT, even last year, so I was discussing one of the CAT 2017 sets on my channel yesterday, and I spoke about how the options were very easy to exploit, and that is what matters ultimately. Please note that in CAT, it's very easy to exploit the options and mark a few questions correct in each and every set. And if you look at what the CAT pattern is, even if you can get 20 questions correct out of 32 attempting all the sets, which is, and 20 out of 32 is a very lenient accuracy rate, you can still end up with 99.8 plus in any DILR paper in the last 3 years. And that is what is very important. It's not about being able to solve all sets. All sets, only those whose concepts are very strong might be able to solve. It's more about making the most of the circumstances at hand. And that is exactly what I'll be stressing upon on how do you spot those options wisely? How do you spot in look at a question, look at the options, and immediately figure out a shortcut way without solving the complete set of marking the answer? Even if you're down to 2 options, how do you realize which option is the more likely option, and you can end up marking that without wasting too much of time? And that is what DILR is all about in the last 3 years. The next thing, some of you might be talking about theta questions, but then please note that in DILR, effectively, even theta questions are kind of limited to MCQs, because they are mostly, they have the possibilities are maybe limited to only 3-4 values that you can put against those questions, especially if it's an LR set like the one I discussed on CAT 2017, probably slot one's most difficult set last year on my Unacademy channel. So these are some of the things that you need to do in mind when you're sitting for the exam. So making sure that your checkpoints are there, like the 60-minute mark when you're starting to the 50-minute mark, you're moved with one set. When you're down to the 30-minute mark, you should have been done with at least 3 sets. At the end of the 45-minute mark, you must be in the 5th set. And at the end of 60-minute mark, you must be done with at least 6 sets. Another thing that I always recommend is to ensure that the last set that you're looking to attempt is preferably a DI set. And the reason for that being that in a DI set, you can, even if you are left with 2-3 minutes in that set, you can maybe mark 1 or 2 questions that are standalone in nature in that set and get away instead of wasting 2-3 minutes into the set. Now, a lot of you might just tell me about what about the importance of selecting sets, going through all the sets and selecting them. See, if you looked at the last few years, you might have noticed that almost all the sets are very, very difficult in nature. And if all sets are very difficult in nature, you can understand that if you're just reading a set, wasting 7-8 minutes, and then moving on to the next set, and you again find that difficult and you're wasting 7-8 minutes, ultimately what will happen is you'll end up wasting time without solving anything, which means your return on time effectively keeps going 0 out of 7 minutes, 0 out of 8 minutes, and so on. It's better if you already invested 7-8 minutes on a set and you have some hang of the set. It makes a lot more sense to go ahead and mark the questions and options, because you're at a much more stronger advantage of understanding the set. And as I said, in DLR, in CAT, in the last few years, the options have been pathetic, And that has been a key secret of my 100 percentile in DILR as well as overall. Moving on to the next thing, how do you prepare from maybe now on till CAT? You've got 10 months time. The first thing that I'll tell you is from the book's perspective. From the book's perspective, Arun Sharma is a very good book to clear your concept, especially they've got this section 3, the LOD 3 questions, which are the challenges, DILR challenges. So do look at the DI book and the LR book of Arun Sharma, which has the challenges section, because those questions are really good for you to improve your grasp of what is called awkward DILR sets that have been coming in recent years. An alternative book that you could look at is possibly Nishit Sinha. That's also a reasonably good book. Besides that, you could always look at the study material of maybe a Time IMSCL, especially a Time has got very good caselets for DILR. Moreover, something that we'll be doing at Unacademy Plus is we'll be sharing you practice assignments and handouts for the class, which will lot stress upon very difficult and challenging sets. As a matter of fact, the awkward sets, the kind of sets that you've been seeing in the last 2-3 years in CAT, IFT, and so on. So do not worry, you'll be adequately prepared for the DILR section for CAT 2018 at least, because since the DILR live class will be taken by somebody who's been there and who's cracked 100 percentile in that section, so I have a very good understanding about what exactly is required to crack it. The next thing that we'll be stressing upon is, other than the books and the material, is the importance of mock tests. While you need to give the mock test from maybe the month of May onwards, mock tests become very important. What you need to do always is analyze the solutions against each set. Even if you got a question correct, what you need to do is go back to the set and understand the actual approach of solving the set, so that next time when you get a similar unstructured set, you have a more systematic approach to looking at the set. Also, what is important is that since you're a lot of times, and I'm advocating the fact that you need to guess a lot, what is important is across these 10-11 months, you improve on your guessing prowess. And how can that happen? So in case in our 4 questions, you've guessed maybe 2 or 3 of them, even logical guesses. I'm talking logic, not blind guesses, based on what your understanding of the set is. And you might have got 1 question wrong out of 4. Do go back and analyze where you might have gone wrong. Probably how you could have guessed it right, and what was probably a giveaway that you could have picked up to guess it right logically without even solving the set. This is something which is very important to ensure that on a regular basis for the next 10-11 months, you are improving in DILR. Please note that DILR is all about smart approaches. It's about not just the set, it's about making use of the questions and options, which is what becomes the key. So practice the questions, options based approach right from now. It is not something that you start doing maybe 1 month before the exam. No, it's something you start right now. Get that culture in you so that when CAT comes in, it's very easy, or it's a cakewalk for you. The next thing, how do you practice from now on till CAT other than the mocks? So mocks will start in the month of May. Moreover, what I'll tell you is, other than the basic concepts for which you can follow me on Unacademy, you can follow Aman Kumar on Unacademy, you can follow Abhishek Khurana's courses. You could also follow some of the other educators from the IMs and Accelerise on Unacademy for the DILR concept courses, including Kalpana and others. But then what I would tell you to more focus upon in DILR is that on a regular basis from now till CAT, look to solve 2 sets daily. When I think 2 sets daily, I would say solve maybe 1 set which is of moderate level difficulty and 1 which belongs to the awkward level difficulty. The reason being, that will prepare you for all kind of eventualities which might happen in CAT. Because remember, in slot 1 this year, the sets were very difficult in nature, awkward types. In slot 2, you did have a moderate sets as well. So you never know which slot you belong to. And so that is why right from now, practice 2 sets daily. But what is important is not just looking to solve the set in unlimited time. No, look to solve the set in 8 to 10 minutes time, as well as then analyze the set, analyze each and every question and options, and figure out how you could have approached it more systematically. At the same time, even if you had to go by options, how you could have guessed all four questions correctly. So the next time you improve on that front. Moreover, when you're doing this, you'll often find that you come up with what is called an unique caselet. So whenever you come with a unique caselet, what you need to do is you need to bookmark that caselet for future reference so that before your next upcoming mock, so before your upcoming CAT, you can just have a look through those very difficult caselets so that when you're bombarded with the CAT exam, you are almost got a very structured approach to solving a lot of high quality awkward caselets so that there's always this chance that you might just get one or two caselets common in the exam. So, what else is required from the perspective of DILR? One more thing that I've always stressed upon is a rigorous schedule, which is why, as part of my Unacademy Plus course, what I've done is I've kept a tri-weekly classes. I've kept tri-weekly live classes at a designated time just to ensure that that rigorous schedule, the rigorous practice that is required, the discipline that is required, that comes into light. And that is what Unacademy Plus is all about, to ensure that you get at the right time on a regular basis, you get a continuous touch with what is DILR concepts. The next thing is personalized mentoring. And that is what I'll be bringing with in the DILR Plus live classes. So in the DILR channel, you might have seen there are a lot of very good approaches to various difficult questions. But then what I want to drive across is that not just how to understand how I solved a particular question, but how you can extrapolate that to solve n number of other questions where you're having difficulty in extrapolating maybe a very smart or innovative technique. And that is what my Unacademy Plus live classes will be all about. So those classes will be held on plus.unacademy.com in our platform itself. And there'll be around 36 lessons across the span of 3 months. Besides, there'll be a lot of doubt clearing sessions and FB weekly sessions and so on. The next thing that I would like to talk about is that which kind of mock test series should you go for? So if you look at, ideally you can look for join any or two out of maybe the time IMS and CL because all three have got very good DILR sections. The best probably I would refer is the IMS test series, which is probably a touch above time and CL, but in time and CL test series is also something you can look at. But make sure whichever test series you're going for, you're analyzing the solutions very carefully. The next thing, one thing more important thing I would like to stress upon is that please remember that ultimately in CAT, you'll be getting a high percentile or you'll be getting a very good score based on your strong areas. So make sure that you're giving more emphasis to your strong areas. A lot of aspirants, what they do is they just focus on their weak areas in CAT, which is very wrong way to go about it. Ultimately, you'll be looking to attempt the easy, moderate questions more so before you move on to the very difficult ones, and you're looking to attempt questions from what is your comfort zone. So keeping that in mind, it makes a lot more sense if you're looking to attempt the easy, moderate sets and the sets which you are comfortable with. Remember, if you're attempting a set of a topic which you're more comfortable with, even if it is difficult in nature, you'll be a lot more confident about approaching it. So focus more on sets or from areas you're more comfortable in rather than trying to scout for those sets which are going to be from difficult areas for practice. No, right from practice, give more stress on those areas which you are stronger at. And as you go up to lead up to CAT and mocks, give more and more emphasis on those strong areas all the more. Weak areas, yes, do give it a try. But then if you see there's not being too much of improvement in one or two particular weak areas, you can bunk that and leave aside. But anyways, if you're looking to attempt 6 or 7 cases out of 8, you can always have the luxury of leaving at one set from that difficult area which you've never been good at. Never try a set from a very difficult area which you've never been good at on the CAT day as one of your primary 5 or 6 sets. These are some of the key guidelines I will say that you need to keep in mind to ensure that you can look to crack 100 percentile in DILR. But then one more important thing is, please note, is the guidance And for that, as you know, I'm a catch on 1600 percentiler, and I've been mentoring over the last 3 4 months with my Academy channel a lot of people who've been CAT 2017 100 percentilers, OMET, IFT, and all 100 percentilers, and so on, who've been regular followers of my DLR and my quants, crash courses, and my practice course in an academy. And hopefully in CAT 2018, we'll have a lot more 100 percentilers coming, and more so from the Unacademy plus DLR live classes, which is why it's all about you taking that extra effort and me following it up on it to just to ensure that you get a personalized experience in our DILR live classes on an academy. Those of you looking for live classes for DILR, do not think too much. You're in safe hands today because I'll be personally mentoring all of you in our DILR live class on an Academy Plus. So for that, all you need to do is go to plus.academy.com and you need to sign up for our DLR live classes. Do that as soon as possible because I believe enrollments end very soon and the live classes are supposed to start in the first week of February. With that, thank you everybody and happy learning. Hope to see a lot of you in our DLR live classes on an Academy Plus. Thank you.